Hey everyone, welcome to the Worship Artistry podcast, video edition and audio edition, part 2. I'm Jason Houtsma, and with me I'm going to let you say it.
I'm Kristina Kislanka.
Kislanka. I always like to throw the Y in.
Kislanka is what people say, but it's Kislanka.
See, you a lot of times say things, and it's one of those things where it's like, that's why I said it, and you're like, no, you didn't.
It's the slightest difference.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not very detail-oriented.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. Well, I want to hear some details from you, because last night you went to a concert for the first time since COVID.
Yes.
Right?
Which was wild.
Yeah,
I hadn't gone to a show since probably early 2019. I don't even remember what show that was, but I went to John Mayer.
Did you feel nostalgic for a time when you weren't alive with his new 80s sound?
Yes, actually, yeah. I mean, that's probably why I love his album, this new album, because I did not grow up on listening to 80s or 90s music at all. I've now been discovering it, but I did not grow up listening to it. So it was wonderful. And I went, it was a last minute decision, and I decided to go, and it was so fun. So good.
Worth it? What was it like being just in a large room, like a stadium size room full of people?
I mean, so I feel like it's not that different because I'm in a congregation every week. Like where there is
just stadium size congregation.
No, I mean my church is only like 150 people, but like so I'm surrounded by music and people singing often. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't different, but it was cool seeing just a show. Like I hadn't seen a show like outside of someone just like playing music by themselves, you know?
Yeah.
Like that was really cool.
Yeah. I know. I've actually gotten to see a couple concerts. I saw Wilco back in November, and that was awesome. That was my first concert in like forever, because it was being in that room full of people, and everybody was just so happy to be there. Everyone's wearing masks and stuff, except for this one guy who just can't help it. He's just like pulling off and just like belting all the songs out.
I must release my sound.
And it's like everybody's just all in. It's just like, you do it, man. You deserve it. Like, it's working for you. But they were really great. And I recently saw Jason Isbell, which was fantastic. It made me feel like I have no idea how to play guitar, which is not good because I'm a guitar teacher on Worship Artistry.
Yeah. I mean, I left John Mayer. I mean, I've been telling you this, that I feel like I need to learn how to play guitar. I've been wanting to learn how to play guitar for a very long time, and I know a site that I can do it on.
How could you possibly learn?
I play piano, just for the record, and I've played piano for a long time, but guitar has been on my list, and I have not gotten there, and I know I should. I just need to find the time. But leaving the John Mayer concert, I just felt so inspired to I need to learn how to play guitar.
Well, if you as a beginner want to learn something, I mean, John Mayer is a great thing to learn, because his stuff is just all super easy. I was so mesmerized the whole time. I just kept staring and being like, how is that possible? Yeah. Well, when he plays Neon, I remember as a guitar teacher, I used to always have students bring in songs, and I would just listen to them, and then I'd teach it to them. I ended up making a whole website out of that. It ended up working out well. That song though, I was just like, how? Like my ears are telling me what the notes are and everything, but I'm just like, I don't know how to do this. And I ended up, I saw a video of it, and I'm like, oh, because I don't have giant hands that can like reach my thumb over all these crazy notes and stuff. It's like, I just probably will never play that song. I saw him do that, and because I was sitting pretty far back, I didn't see every detail. And so when he was just solo on acoustic, like by himself, he was playing it. I swear I thought that there was another acoustic somewhere on stage that was just not in the light. Like there was a guy under the stage just playing away. Maybe. He's probably playing with tracks. But it was just him. I had to take my phone and zoom in on the video just so I can see what was happening. And sure enough, it was just him Wait, hold on. So you were at the concert taking out your phone and zooming in, like you were treating your phone like binoculars? Yeah. I was so far back, I couldn't see the details. I needed to and I need to update my prescription. So maybe that's it too. That might be more of a glasses thing. No, but I definitely did that several times just to see the details. Awesome. Well, you showed us some amazing amazingly well done phone videos.
Thank you.
From the second to last row.
I'm a talent, a true talent.
I mean, I've always wanted to see what John Mayer looked like as an ant. Like, I've always just wondered what it looks like when an ant plays guitar.
An ant in a white suit.
And sneakers. So,
and
sneakers. That's cool. There was actually a guy, it's funny that we're coming up on Easter, because at my church, every year there was this guy, my wife used to say, she's like, it's like the Beach Boys are leading worship. And this guy, he was like an older guy. He had kind of like white, gray hair, but he would every Easter, he would wear like a full white suit and white loafers, and just play his Strat and just shred his
incredible.
Blues riffs on the Strat. It was like, this guy's straight out of Miami Vice. He looks like he belongs.
That is who I aspire to be.
Yeah, well, his name is Jamie, and he's an okay guy, I guess. I'll introduce you.
Oh, great.
Well, we're going to introduce you to our guest today. We have Brett Younker of Passion, which it's cool. This is actually the second time I've interviewed him. And the first time he was in the car in the rain picking up his kids from school. So
doing life.
Yeah, doing life. And and this one was a little different, which was really nice. I found us having like really engaged conversation and just was really enjoying what he was talking about. And we talked all about, obviously Passion's new record, but really went beyond that and talked about, Passion ultimately is a movement that's built, for 18 to 25-year-olds. And we ended up talking about kind of what, you're right in that zone, kind of how does the church need to move? How do we need to change? What needs to happen? And then also just the influence of COVID and all those things. I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's a great interview. So without further ado, Brett Younker. Hello, Brett. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, so good to be here.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure, man. I've been listening to Burn Bright, which is a great EP, and I have so many questions to ask you about this project. But I thought I'd just start off and just kind of ask you, every time we go through, anytime we're making a new album or a new project, it's usually a representation of the season that we're in, some level. And it's been a very interesting season for a lot of us. So I'd love to just get a sense of where you were at and where you were coming from as you started working on this project.
Yes. Well, to take you all the way back to kind of the middle of 2021, around May or June. Well, actually, if I can, let me take you all the way back to Passion 2020. I mean, it's kind of, we were just talking before we started recording here, how it's kind of hard to remember of that life. But Passion has existed to gather 18 to 25-year-olds, and that's one of the things we've been doing for many, many years. And in 2020 was one of the most significant gatherings that we had up to that point. It was in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It was over 60,000 18 to 25-year-olds, and it really was an amazing moment to ring in the new decade, really, and just gathered together worshiping Jesus. Well, as we all know, 3 months later, everybody's life gets turned upside down, changes. The world is experiencing something that none of us have experienced in our lifetime. So in 2021, we felt like at the beginning of 2021, we needed to have some type of conference, but obviously we couldn't be in a place like the Mercedes-Benz. So we did a virtual one. And even though, it didn't feel the same, it didn't have, especially if you were it was from our church when we were broadcasting, it was amazing. God allowed us to reach over 700,000 people through that broadcast, which is kind of mind blowing when you really think about it. That's like almost 1 million people. And so if my math is right, and, but so, obviously, not sure what the state of the world is. No one's making long-term plans, this, that, the other. And but in May or June of 2021, all the NFL schedules got released, and there was this window, and all the bowl games, and there was this window where we could gather for Passion 2022. And so our leadership team, Louis, Shelley, they prayed and said, God, is this what you want us to do? It's kind of hard. Again, it's just hard to even envision 6 months from now. And what's the state of the world going to be in? And can we do that? Because, when we did it the first time, it was a lot of planning, a lot of, to be able to get the people into that space. It takes a lot of time and energy to do that. And But we believe that was the right step. And so we said yes as a movement to saying, hey, we feel like it's important to gather 18 to 25-year-olds again and to be actually physically in one location again. And so that kind of set us on this journey of, okay, we're going to have a gathering of 18 to 25-year-olds. And I worked some with a lot of the young adults at our church. And what I was really excited about coming into this gathering, this conference, was this group of 18 to 25-year-olds. It's the beginning. It's of a new generation, a new wave. I mean, I'm an older millennial, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is the beginning of that Gen Z wave. They're coming into adulthood. And so for me, I kind of even had that in my framework of we're really seeing like a new generation step into who they're going to be and what their lives are going to be about. And not to mention that we've been spread out and isolated. And so through the fall, our worship leaders, there's like me, Christian, Melody, Sean, Chittima, Crowder, our whole kind of creative team. That's what we started setting our sights on. So, okay, if we're going to get everybody in the same place, God, what are the songs that you want us to sing, and what is it that you're doing and saying, and how can we help give a voice to what you're doing and what you're saying in this moment in time? And so, long answer, a lot of backstory, but that's kind of like that was our mindset. It was particularly through the fall as we were getting ready and starting to write music for this gathering.
Wow. So did you take that into account in what way, or I should say, in what way did you take that into account, right? Because you've just done an online thing. Like, did you think about writing differently, knowing that was going to be the case? Were you trying to think about how to communicate via internet? Because now this one, you kind of combined everything, right? Because you had people there and then you also streamed. You kind of did.
We did stream too.
Right.
That's
so you kind of did both. So how did that affect the way that you actually led worship?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it, we're really fortunate that Louis, our pastor, the leader of the Passion Movement, he had a lot of vision, and our him and Shelley and all the speakers, and there was a real common thread, and if there was a real vision of that picture in Revelation that every nation, tribe, and tongue would be gathered around the throne, and that in some ways, you might have grown up in church and you might have had this like Great Commission mindset of like, hey, one of the reasons why we exist as believers on the earth today, why the church exists, is to take the message of the gospel. This is what you read about all through Acts. Like if you're reading the book of Acts, you just watch it. When you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like you see this message of resurrection and forgiveness and reconciliation being proclaimed through hardship, through miracles, through, and that's you start to see this thread of like, oh, well, the disciples went here, and then the message went there, and then the message went here, and the message was preached, and da-da-da-da-da. And so it wasn't just da-da-da-daing the spread of the gospel, but you get what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying.
You get what I'm
saying. The podcast is only so long.
Exactly. But it really is a consistent message, and it really is. I mean, that's the story of the church, and we're in that story, and Louis had that vision for us, and so for us, we were carrying some of those things, and even just some of those anchor messages of passion. So so Shine Like Stars would be a great example of a song that really came around that here am I, send me, Great Commission moment of like, Lord, I like Isaiah, I've seen you, I've experienced you, I've been touched by you. Now, who will go for me? Who will take this message? Here am I, send me, and that heart of availability, or like the way Paul would write it, that we would shine like stars in the heavens. And then there are other songs like Beautiful Jesus is one that's on the record. And that to me is like one of those just anchor passion, that Jesus, the glory and the fame of Jesus is, again, one of those central themes through the Christian story, through our story, that, everything we exist for God, for Jesus, and he's at the center of our lives. And really, even going back to that picture of Revelation, he's at the center of eternity. And so all that to say is like that vision, I think, was really, really clear as we were talking, as he was casting vision to us. Mm-hmm. And so as we gathered with songwriters and friends and some producers and we began to talk through these things, those types of songs just started to rise to the top.
Very cool. So, man, I have so many different questions I want to ask you. You put a lot of meat and stuff, and I'm just like, oh, let's talk about that. So I want to come back to the music side, but I actually wanted to ask you. So you guys are on the forefront of this thing. You've been doing this for a long time. Like you said, you're really trying to focus on 18 to 25-year-olds, and we're seeing such a culture shift away from the church. And I think even from through the whole pandemic, we've run into that same thing. People, I can just watch it online, and that's just that's a little easier. That's So how do you continue to share that message? Like, what are the things that you hold up and you say, like, no, this is important? And how do you capture this generation that's used to, I'm going to sound like such an old man, but that's just used to having everything like right on your phone, and the moment I want it, I get it. And the Christian life isn't always as immediately fulfilling, right? Like it's
right.
I mean, it is in like amazing ways, but it's not cheap. And so how do you guys keep that in the forefront? Like, how do you call people to that?
Yeah. Well, I'm, one of the things for me that encourages me in these seasons is the church has weathered a lot. Like if you really look through the 2,000 years of the church, and really the longer than that of the people of God, our as a people, we've weathered a lot in the world. So that encourages me in these moments that are really hard, and I think every generation sees some of that, right? Like, I mean, for me and you, we're in the same wave, and 20 years ago, 15 years ago, people were saying the same thing. Right. But there is a real hunger, even in this generation. I think one of the gifts of this generation that's coming up is to see consistency between what's being said and what's being done. And I believe Jesus meets us there, and it's not like, oh no, what's happening? But like Jesus goes, yeah, there's something about that for sure. And then the enemy does try and twist that in people for sure. But I think there is a real hunger for your life to count, for your life to matter. And to even talk about the way, Jesus, if you go back to like something like Matthew 5, right? Matthew 5, 6, and 7 on the Sermon on the Mount, he's talking to a group of people. It's politically charged. It's things aren't the way people want them to be. And he comes into that moment and says, there's actually a better way. And I'm introducing to you now a new kind of kingdom. It's the kingdom of God. It's something that's already here because I'm here, because I'm the king, and the king brings the kingdom with him, But he says, but it's also coming, and it's not fully here yet. And so we live in this like already not yet situation. But he goes on, this is where you get, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom. So even in the midst of this generation, you've got to get all the way to the end of yourself to realize I'm bankrupt in spirit. I have nothing, and therefore I need God. And I think that's like, so even in this day, one of the things, even in the hardship of the last couple of years, I believe this generation's been given a great gift, especially if you are 18 to 25, because you've seen with your own eyes that the systems and structures of the world can very easily shake and very easily crumble, and they're broken, and right. So to have that gift, to see that, to not be fooled by that, to say then there has to be something else, there must be something that's different, and it's in that moment that Jesus speaks. There's a new kind of kingdom. There's a new way.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point, right? Like it's funny. One of my pastors recently, we were just talking about like, okay, like what we're in this time. Okay, we have half our people are showing up online. We have all these things, and he's just like, the mission's the same. It's right. Like this culture doesn't offer what Jesus offers. We call people to what Jesus offers. And it's really powerful. So that's fantastic. I wanted to talk about the music side a little bit because it's funny, you were talking like Beautiful Jesus, it's like, oh, that's just like a passion, like everything. But everything has like real different tones on this, Shine Like Star, it's got some slide guitar, it's got a little country rock progression to it.
Okay.
You got Beautiful Jesus, which I was like, I listened to that, I was like, this sounds like it could be straight off like an 80s movie soundtrack. Kind of reminded me of You Are the Lord a little bit. When that one came out, we did a little mashup of that with the Karate Kid date scene, and it was like,
I remember that.
Perfect. It just fit perfect.
That speaks deep to my heart,
Hey, that movie still holds up.
100%.
What he's done has a little bit of gospel to it.
Yep.
But it all still feels like it's you guys. It all still feels like you've pulled all these influences together. And so I was curious as to, when you have a song and it's just on a guitar or it's just on a piano, how do you flesh that out into these different influences? Where does that come from?
Well, that's a great question. I think, just to speak to these songs, I think it's really been fun. I mean, over the last couple of years, I think the space in life, like we really haven't traveled nearly as much. And I know for me as a songwriter, I think it's helped me explore and even kind of find my like a deeper sense of like my voice in it. And when you're writing worship music, I really believe this. It's that for me, that's the artistry side of it. Like the artistry side is like, how are we creating songs? Like, to me, that's the fun part, is like, do we all want to sing this together? Right. Because there's this like powerful moment when you and me and our faith come together and we're singing. And, but at the same time, God has like, makes us all different in individual tones. And, like Beautiful Jesus, I don't know, I haven't really talked to Chidam about this, but she's one of these like up and coming voices in our world. And I love that song because there's this like the way that melody hit me the very first time I heard it. She's this amazing singer, and that melody just like slammed me like in my heart when I first heard it, because it just hit me so fresh. And Christian, he loves country music. And, when you hear what he's done, I love that, because he's been one of my best friends since we were 14. And I just hear the honesty in that. Like, that's what, if you like prick Christian, that's the kind of stuff that comes out of him. You know what I mean? And for me, I grew up really listening to the Beatles and things like that. And, who knows, but it's just, so those little like, chord progressions with like a flat 7, like Shine Like Stars, like that, and the slide guitar, and like all that stuff's kind of like all that music helped make who we are. And so for us, it's flowing. That's what just kind of flows out. So I think the space has maybe allowed us some time to kind of explore that in ways that maybe we haven't done before. And so I think it's kind of cool. But you're right, there is still like a unity to it all. And I think, to me, I think that's awesome. Where it's not all sounding the exact same, but at the same time, it's like, wow, this feels like it's part of the same family, but I can hear uniquenesses in it all too. And that's a big win in my book.
I agree. And I think it's a big win even in just learning and leading songs. A lot of times with musicians, there's kind of that like, okay, well, I'll throw on my dotted eighth note delay on my guitar and I'll do the thing, and it's just kind of like, and having fresh sounds and continuing to develop those and change those. I just think it keeps it fresh for everyone who's playing it. It just makes it fun to learn.
For sure. So. We're all that. We're doing that at our own church. So we're like, come on, we need a new progression or a new flow or a new sound. And I think the people, not just the musicians that are playing it, but I really feel like the last couple of years we've seen like the people are hungry for that kind of just some new colors to paint with.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It really came together great on the album. You guys you guys brought in. It sounds like you brought in a choir to some of the music. How was it? Is that the first time you guys have done that?
Well, we started kind of adding more of that kind of choral, choiry, choral. I felt funny saying it that way, but I mean it is. And kind of we did a Christmas record in 2020, and we had that. That was like one of the things that was like the glue on all the songs. You know, there's like a few elements that kind of like were on each and every song, and that was one of them. And then I even think with songs like You Are the Lord, it kind of lent itself to that thing. And I think we've just really loved hearing that, because we've loved hearing like the width of all the singing in that. So I think, you know, that's just something we really like right now.
Yeah.
So
how does that like change? So I was looking at some videos of you guys practicing, kind of doing some practice rehearsals, right? And it's like you guys are playing in the middle and all these people, you know, surrounding the group, and A, how does that change the energy for you guys? And B, what kind of challenges does that bring up when you're incorporating a lot more people into it versus, hey, we've got our band, we all know what we're going to do. How does that change the dynamic?
Yeah. Well, I think the energy thing, it just brings so much life and energy to it. Like, and that's kind of the point, right? Like all the music, the songs, it's not just a cool expression of a band playing. It's going, we're here to serve a moment where people are coming together to sing, and that can happen in so many different ways and styles and varieties and this, that, the other. But that's our goal, you know, like that's our purpose. You know, on the process side of things, I mean, it's usually something that, you know, just depends on what part of the process that gets brought into. You know, again, not just to reference You Are the Lord. One of the ways is we really wanted that vocal sound to be the primary thing. And so we actually recorded that first, and then we built the parts around that. But sometimes we'll build out the band and get the band sounding really, really great. And then we'll bring in people and be like, all right, now let's all sing along. And then what's cool about that sometimes is it takes this thing that already is sounding really cool, and then it's like just comes to life, because it's like you just hear all these people singing like right at once. And so that's not, we don't have like a science or a system, but I think hearing other people sing, I think, inspires even the worship leader that's leading, because it allows them some freedom to even get off of the melody and move around a little bit. But then I think it also inspires the people at church, because it's like I can find my home for my voice in the midst of all of that. Yeah.
Well, and it was cool watching the video, because I mean, the expression of joy in the process was just really cool. You know, I think a lot of times, I think historically, you know, you get some guys leading worship, and it's, you know, it's in your local church, right? And for me, it was hiding behind the plant. You know, there was like a plant there, and I just kind of like scoot a little bit to the side and be like, all right, nobody look at me. You know, and we struggle with that idea sometimes of you know, I put in air quotes like performing, right? You know, it's just kind of like, oh, well, we're not performing. We're just, and it's like, no, but like we're engaging wholeheartedly in what we're doing.
Totally.
And when musicians are really engaging wholeheartedly in what we're doing, whether it's playing guitar or whether it's singing or whatever, and we're all, instead of being locked onto our instrument and like, I got to play this part and I better follow the chord chart, and actually engaged with everyone around us, like that's when music happens.
Yeah.
Right? In just a way. And it's incredibly enticing. And it's like, I just want to be a part of that. You know, like I want that looks amazing. I wish I was there. Right. And so I think it's something that a lot of times get lost. Like we don't focus on that enough. And it's just really beautiful to watch you guys do it. It felt really natural. And it was like, oh, that looks like a blast. That looks a good time.
It was a fun time.
So where are you guys now? Like, you know, I always wonder, you know, you guys always kind of come out with a record around this time, you know, and is it kind of like we're all leading up to this thing and then like, oh my gosh, I need to take a break and like reset. And then is there a rhythm to it, or are you kind of already like, I'm on to the next record, I already know what's going to happen on that one. What's next for you guys?
No, I definitely don't know that. But, I mean, I think we are, yes. I mean, it is a lot just to kind of like ramp up and to rise up into something like Passion. And I think right now, definitely our team is just kind of in a, like, let's inhale again. You know, like we just did something really significant, and we were part of something really significant. And I think we need to allow God to work in us, and I mean, and then from a songwriting point of view, yeah, I mean, I think for me, I do kind of have like a burst usually like right after something, just because I think I get so like for me, I get very focused on, like this moment, these songs, uh, and it's that way for like a couple weeks or like a month leading up to it, that then it allows me, I can kind of go exploring again.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's not necessarily for the sake of a project or an album. It's just more so of like, I need to, that's part of my like inhaling again, is just to go explore and to be with God and to pursue him and to connect with him, not necessarily for the sake of like even a song or another project or this, that, the other. But I think, for a lot of us and a lot of our songwriters, there is a very regular rhythm of writing. And then, whatever the next, big step that we might take as a movement or even as a church, we'll do that. But in the meantime, we're going to carry these songs. I think especially I'm really grateful for what he's done. I think Christian bringing that with Tasha and Anna and Jacob Suter is another songwriter on that song. And, I'm pumped because I feel like that's like the best Easter song like ever, Good Friday Easter thing. And so like even now, like for us, we're kind of like dreaming about that. Okay, hey, that song really served a moment at Passion, but also it's, we're about to step into Easter and all of that. So to answer your question, it's kind of the regular rhythm of church and getting, doing that, carrying what God's put in our hands right now is like some of this, there will be a record that comes out, a live record from the conference. And so that's always exciting to hear and to hear everybody singing. And then, yeah, we'll just kind of keep walking with Jesus and figuring out what is the next step and what, and I'm sure God will give us what we need when we need it,
That's what he does. That's what I think it's one of those things I'm always encouraging worship pastors, just how important that, like you're talking, like that exploring and that taking time to inhale and breathing, because it's so easy to get in the rhythm, especially when you don't have, like you guys have it on such a big scale, right? But like for a lot of worship pastors, it's every Sunday. All right, I just got to get through Sunday and I'm going to crash on Monday.
And
right?
that comes really fast, right? Every week.
Right. And so, but how important it is to be in that space where it's like, okay, how am I going to, like, part of my job is to inhale. Part of my job is to wait on God and like speak to us and what does he want to say to our community? What does he want to say to me? And so I think it's awesome that you guys take the time to do that, even with such a big rhythm going on. So last question for you. I always love to find, this is, we got a lot of musicians that listen to this. When you make a record, there's always these few moments that you just, I love that guitar riff. Oh, I love that melody, that vocal melody. I love that certain things. What are a couple of your musical highlights on this record?
Ooh. So many. I'll just run through a bunch of them really fast.
Yeah, go for it.
Like I said, Beautiful Jesus. I think the melody of that chorus is so fresh, and Chittima is amazing. On what he's done, the flow on the live version from Passion. There's already a video out on YouTube. You can see that. Watch it. But on the way Tasha just flows and Christian and Anna go, like it's so powerful what they're singing about. Like I'll never forget what he's done. I love, like you were talking about earlier, the slide guitar stuff on Shine Like Stars. Like it just feels so good. But then also too, there's some just other great moments. I don't want to give them all away, but you can just be on the lookout for them with Sean Curran and Crowder and some other of the artists that were there at Passion. And so the record really does feel like a really great representation of all that God did at the conference. Oh, the other little thing is like, when any moment, like there's a moment in Shine Like Stars where it goes into a big drum chorus and it's just people singing with the drums. And it actually sounds exactly like it would in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Like It's not just like a random gang kind of a thing. Right. It's like, it sounds like 50,000 people in a ginormous room singing out, going, "I'm gonna burn bright for you, Jesus." So like it's so, but like the way our audio guys, the engineers, the production on it, they got it, and it's pretty cool.
Sounds like a headphone moment.
For sure.
Give that a shot for sure.
Headphone, turn it up. Just turn it up. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys definitely turned it up, as you always do, and we're super grateful that you were able to make the time to come hang out with us, and always look forward to what you guys are going to do next. And I'm looking forward to teaching these songs. That slide guitar might give me a fit, but I'll get it done.
Get it. Just try your best. Try your best. Give Brian a call.
That'd be great.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett.
So one of my favorite parts of that interview was where he's talking about how being at home, like being in the pandemic time, how it kind of drew a lot of the different musical flavors out of things. I thought that was really interesting because I've seen it for myself. Like, I think, having to do video worship from my house, I'll tell you one thing, it really helped me kind of discover my voice and kind of like critique it a lot more, because I wasn't just able to just sing in front of a crowd and have all this reverb and everything. Instead, it was like, I don't sing that word very well, I need to take the edge off that, or I need to kind of soften this, or why am I so forceful in that note, You don't want to just always critique the heck out of yourself. But I found all these like stylistic things and like was able to bring in things that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Did you find a similar thing? I mean, or was it just all John Mayer?
Only John Mayer ever. No, I like thinking back. I released one song that I wrote over the pandemic, and in the process of doing that, I did it by myself. In my room, just playing and writing and recording it all by myself. But in the process of doing that, I did spend a ton of time just gathering inspiration of who I was listening to, what they did in their recordings, and how I wanted to like emulate that, or what I wanted my sound to even be. Because I had never thought about that before. I had been writing songs before the pandemic, but I'd never actually had the time to sit down and start recording it. So it was so cool just to have that time to really dive in. The amount of time I spent on Spotify, oh my goodness. Dividing up all my playlists and categorizing them and creating my inspo playlist and everything. There was a lot of time, but not a plug for Spotify, but it is pretty great. But so I definitely found myself just diving in to new inspirations.
Yeah. What were some of the things that stuck out to you? What were some of the things that you did try and pull in?
I just spent a lot more time focused on how a song was actually produced. Like I had not thought about that before. Like I would listen to the song and I would pay attention to lyrics and, the emotion that it would stir up in me, but I didn't pay attention to what they did in the intro, if there was a hook from the guitar or the piano or any of that. And I had to think about those sorts of things, even though I only had piano and, different synths and stuff that I could record with, because I don't play guitar, which that will change eventually. I guess we'll have the progress on this podcast. You actually know
some musicians that could probably help with that, maybe.
Just a few. Maybe. Just a few. I don't know.
They're not very good, though.
So I had to just take what I was listening to in terms of like the different hooks and be thinking about how can I use my voice for some of that, and how I can use just different parts in the piano to do the same.
Yeah, I think whether or not you're serious about recording, or whether you just kind of do it you play for fun or whatever, I don't think there's a more valuable tool besides worshipartistry.com that will actually help you improve as a musician, because it really does force you to hear everything that's wrong, and also kind of go like, oh, actually that's not as bad as I thought it was. We've talked before about, I'm not a natural singer. I have to work to sing. When you sing, it sounds like you just like were born doing it, and it's very natural and everything. And so I have to do a lot of work for it. But it is in the recording and listening that you kind of start going, okay, I kind of naturally, find those things. And same thing with production. We've been working on doing some like original, some worship artistry versions of some older songs that are kind of more updated.
Which I'm really excited for.
Yeah, and they sound great. And you're actually lead singing on the first one, which is especially exciting. And that'll be coming out soon. But it was amazing, like thinking about it and going, I want this to sound more like the kind of music that I just listen to normally, that I really enjoy, rather than trying to make it sound like fit the quote unquote worship genre.
Yeah.
And it's still very much a worship song. It's still easily done with a full band. I always find whenever I record anything, like I am built for the 5-piece band because I will record a billion things on there. And then when I finally strip them all away and go, well, this is what I want. It's like
just the 5-piece band.
One electric guitar, one acoustic guitar, piano, drums.
That's all that's needed. The basics.
Yeah, exactly. But it really, when you do that, you have to think about every part. Like the acoustic guitar isn't just a thing in the background strumming. It's like, no, this is one of the hooks.
Yeah.
And this is one of the hooks, and this is one. But when you do that, it comes together, and it's so satisfying. So I feel like it's been a learning process in that whole thing too. Yeah. Once again, we have some pretty awesome musicians that help us out with that, which is pretty rad. Very excited about it.
Yes.
And the other thing we're really excited about is you coming and checking out Worship Artistry. At worshipartistry.com, you can learn now over 600 songs, worship songs, as they're done on the record. And really our hope is always that you take those, you kind of get a sense of what you don't know, kind of get that mastery, and then take it and make it your own. And you can do it, and your whole team can do it, and anybody can try it for free right now. 21-day free trial. Go check it out, worshipartistry.com. We would also love it, if you would, let me say this. We would love it if you would go review our podcast, because that makes a difference. It helps us get more exposure, and I know there are a lot more people that listen than that review. Only 5 stars. If you got something bad to say, I don't want to hear from you. I'll be honest. I got other things to do. Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate. But at the same time, we want the lovers to show up.
Yeah, and share definitely on your socials. Share this video with people.
Yeah, tell people about it. I'm terrible at actually being like, oh, you should share this with somebody. So we hope that you do. Kristina, I'll see you next time.
Yes. Goodbye.